Hello, welcome to Mindset Monday, and that says the Happy Maths Summer Camp. Okay, so it is Mindset Monday, and we are going to be talking about the Happy Maths Summer Camp because the Happy Maths Summer Camp is all about mindset. Even if you're someone who simply feels that your mindset is holding you back, and you want to find a way to have more of a growth mindset, you will benefit from this Happy Maths Summer Camp. Happy Maths Summer Camp is aimed at families that have children in their family that are really struggling with maths, might have anxiety, might have maths anxiety, might just hate maths, might just struggle with maths. It doesn't matter which of them. What I'll be talking about over the next few minutes is activities that we're going to be doing and how they're going to help. I'm being really distracted by this shimmering hair, the green screen behind me. How the summer camp is going to help people both overcome the fear of maths, overcome maths anxiety, and generally gain greater understanding of maths as a concept. And I'm going to just be demonstrating some of the games that we're going to be playing. And while we're doing that, I'll be doing my usual, writing down any notes I think of that will be helping to come up with it's Mindset Monday. There's a wonderful researcher called Carol Dweck, and she wrote a book called Mindset, and I do highly recommend that book. During her research over the last 10 years, she works at Stanford University. She's a, I don't know if she's a professor there, but she certainly is a researcher there. And she started researching into why some people find it harder to make progress than others. And what she discovered, what she named, was that some people have more of a growth mindset and some people have more of a fixed mindset. Now, a fixed mindset is one that says, I can't. I'm fixed, I can't. I've been like this my whole life. I'll always be like this. I can't change. I can't learn this. I can't learn that. I can't do this. And that it can actually start at a very young age. And versus someone who might say, I can't, but they'll say, I can't yet. The power of the yet. 3 little letters, yet-ta. So I know I'm reiterating it, but I am going to actually make a note of the yet to make sure that I cover it at the end. So we've got the yet, the power of the yet. And this is what this is all about. This is all about asking questions. This is all about making discoveries and empowering yourself to help yourself and your young learners to help you. So asking questions, I'm writing that down. Empowering yourself and your family and other people through questions to be always improving. So how do we enjoy maths? Let's see, I'm going to change my camera. I don't know if I can actually, could be maybe, oopsie. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, don't know what just happened there, but, I know what the problem is. It's not plugged in. Being one's own studio technician, one has to do these things. There we go. Now I should have another camera show up here. There we go. So what I've got there is my coffee. And I've got this red Regoli Colorati, which is basically the low-cost version of the Cuisinaires rods. Now, I will, when I'm a grown-up, get some Cuisinaires rods, but this Cuisinaires this book has been published by the Association of Teachers of Mathematics, is a really powerful system. And it takes you, and we will be doing, I'm going to be recommending that people hopefully will be able to buy the Cuisinaires, and if this is the low cost option. And what we're going to be doing, okay, I need to take off the green screen because you can't see half of the rolls. There you go. So there's some of those, that's really cool. I'm going to put it back on again just for fun. Here we go. Whee! They disappeared. And way, look, it works on the yellow ones as well. Which ones disappear? I've got 2 greens and a yellow. They disappear, and everything else. And the box itself is green, so the box disappears. So it becomes translucent or transparent. Okay, so this is without the filter. So the first thing you do with this is just play. There's lots of layers here. There's 3 layers of blocks, and every block has actually got the cross section is 1 centimetre squared. So they're very conveniently, so the length is very convenient. And so basically, if you take a single block, like a sugar cube, it is a cubic centimetre. Now, this is only relevant when you want to start talking about volume and area, but length you can start talking about quite early. So this one, each colour has its own length. So this is effectively length 1, and you can't tell which one is the length and which is the height and which is the width because they're all the same. So that's 1 centimetre, no matter which way you look at it. And then the next size is well, you can check from here, and that could be a game. So, well, how many of these will fit on each of these? So this is 2, that one's 3, that one's 4, that one's 5, whoopsie, that one's 5, then which one's 6, which comes next, that one's 6, that one's 7, that one's 8, one's 9, and that's 10 long. Well, you can create cubes, you can create shapes of different lengths and widths. So you can say, well, you can actually have a shape that is too long, and then if it's too, that's too long and too wide, that's too long and 3 wide, that's too long and 4 wide. So you can make different shapes. That's a square, that's a rectangle. And what other shapes can you make with it? You can just literally use these for play. So that's a great place to start. And as you're playing, what you'll find is automatically, it's the human mind loves structure, loves patterns. And one of the things, the really powerful things, apart from start with the basics, make sure counting happens before a child ever gets anywhere near a school. If your child goes to school, and be counting with meaning. So it isn't just, and I call it careful counting for the children. So if you're counting 1, 2, 3. There are 3 things there. And what you'll find is, as a child starts learning to count, they might just count, and which is great that they can count, but what really matters is to have the 3-ness of 3, the 5-ness of 5, that there is a meaning to the number. And in this case, we could have 5 of these, we could have 5 toys, we could have 2 toys, but there's a meaning to the number. And when whatever we're counting stops, and we stop counting, and there's a significance to it. And as you develop, you can actually start making the numbers mean something more. I'm going to use the word modular. I'm not quite sure if I've got the right word. But in other words, you don't need to put down 4 dots, 4 little cubes. You can get a bar that's length 4. So that would be the number 4 versus counting 1, 2, 3, 4. But you can also count 1, 2, Oh, let's get the right one. 3, way, 3 and 4. And you can actually make, or you can just lay out one of each of these rods and see what happens. And they only put out one of each of the rods and see what happens. Now that's when they're quite young, and this is just play. But what you will find, as human nature being what it is, we do love patterns. So the patterns will appear. I'll show you some of the pictures in the book here. Now this is a book that I will be recommending that everybody that attends the course, and we're going to do the maths summer camp, and we're going to do, we'll be doing courses later in the year as well, but you'll see that these sort of patterns happen. These sort of activities happen. And here's another one. We've got, oh, let's move this a bit. We've got trains that'll happen. So you've got, oh, you'll have alternating colours, and these are sequences. These are, so, and you're thinking, another great thing you can do with these is create patterns. So you can do them lengthwise and say, well, I'm going to create a pattern that goes like this. So the next one's going to be green. Whoopsie, not green. The next one's going to be white and then green. And now I've invented a pattern. Now, what comes next? And can you continue the pattern? And each person can take it in turns to create a new pattern that somebody else can copy. And you doesn't have to just be with these rods, but these rods are particularly friendly to do that with. You can do it with toys. You can, I'm just going to pull that off there for a minute and come back to the camera here. Hello. So I'm just looking at the book, and we've got, well, having said, I've just now, but look at this. See that one there? See, that's the sort of thing that these are actually real examples of patterns. Here we go, there's another pattern there. Now, a great thing about this one is that if you see, this has been done with square paper in the back, and the square paper in the back is going to help a young learner become familiar with how to draw charts. And here we go, we've got a rocket going here. And this just happened naturally. We've got the rocket, but look at the fire or whatever it is coming outside. It's in those progressive bars. It's increasing in size. This is all going. It's all going to give a great sense. Look at all the young learners there with their sets of Cuisinaires rods doing the different activities. So there's lots of different activities to do. One of them is to create progressive increasing size squares. Or let's have another go. Let's have a go at that. So you start with a square. There's a square. It's every edge length is one edge. Now how can we do the next one? We could do the next one as 1, 2. Well, is that a square? It's longer on one edge than it is on the other. So if we put 4 of those in, then we have a bigger square. So there's 4 of those are needed to make the next size up square, because if there's only 2, the only way to make a square with 2 is by having 2 on every edge, and then we can count how many there are. There's 4. And we can do the same, of course, with cubes. We can see how many we need to make a cube. And this is a great way to really start getting a feel for, whoopsie, that's not very good. So what's the next one up? So we've got the next number up is 3. So if we have 3, well, that's a rectangle. There's more on that edge than there are on there. So now we put 3 on the next one. Well, there's still more on that edge than there are on there. So we're going to go to the next one. Now I'm doing this at a low level, as in I'm just starting off with the easy to demonstrate things what everybody can understand. We've now got a square that's 3 on every edge, and you can count how many there are. So your square is 1, and the next one's got 4 squares and the next one's got 9 squares. And these are the square numbers. And you don't have to name them square numbers immediately. You can, that will come later. And the next one, and then you can work out, well, what is the next one going to be? And what about the next one after that? And how many squares will there be? Small squares will there be in each? How can we make this a bit easier or different? So can we make this square with this? That's a length of 2. Well, no, we can't, but we can do the next one up. And so 2 2s is the same as 1 4. So that is the same, got 4 single ones, but you can make the same shape with 2 double ones. Now, are there any others of these that will do the same? Well, the next size up is 3. Okay, so we can't do it with 3, but we can make a 3 long and 3 wide. Now, can we make a 3 long and 3 wide with the 2s? Let me see. Well, we can go there and there. Is there any way that we can make a 3 long and 3 wide with the 2s? Now, when we had these, we worked out that it took 9 of those, and these are all 2s. So is there any number using 2? Is there any way you can, using whole numbers, you can use sets of 2 to make the number 9? This is part of the discovery, but we need to have an odd one out. We need to use an extra single one to make an odd number. These are all discoveries that we can make, and there's so much that you can do within that. And then there's lots and lots of wonderful challenges you can do. So this is progressing through. Now, square numbers and cube numbers are things you need in lower secondary school. Now, with the Cuisinaire, this book is called Cuisinaire from Early Years to Adult. Well, what would we've got, okay, so going on, we've got building and interpreting a growing pattern. So this is as the learner gets older. So this is an activity that we'll be doing with all ages. So it's not simply something that we'll do with the younger learners. The activities will be different according to the age of the person that's in the group. Now, here we have now, we're going to be using the Cuisinaire rods to actually make equations. We're also going to be playing a game called Algebraria, which we're going to use squares and rectangles to also make equations and work out areas. And you're doing all of that here as well. You've got, well, this we're not going to be using these squares. Well, people can get them if they want to. We'll give you the link. But here we go, the way of making the squares. So that's much prettier, isn't it? The way of making the 3 by 3, you need the extra 1, but it's done in such a pretty way. So this one makes it very clear that, oh, you can't, there's a gap there, you can't do it. The other one, so pretty, because you're making 2 plus 1, 2 plus 1, 2 plus 1, and there's a hole in the middle, which we fill with 1 more. And isn't that pretty? Isn't that lovely? I think that's beautiful. So, and you keep making the squares bigger, and that's the part of the challenge there. And just continuing on, and now we're going to be able to do fractions, ratio, and proportion. So those are upper primary and useful in secondary as well, just to make sure that we're really solid on those concepts. Excuse me. Of course, we've got addition and subtraction, and this is a wonderful way to see addition and subtraction. So this one is, well, if we're not sure, we can say, well, there's 2 and 2. How long is that one? You soon become familiar with with how long they are and what number they represent. So that one is 2 and 2 and 1. That's 5. Okay, so what have we just done? We've just discovered that if you add 2 plus 1, it gives you 5. And what about 5 and this one? How long is that one? That one's, oh, look at that. That's 2 plus 1. So that's 5 plus 3. Now, what's 5 plus 3? Well, let's find the rod that's the same length as 5 plus 3. And the other thing we can do, and so that is the 8 rod, but you can just literally put 8 of these on until you get more familiar with it. And the more you use them, the more really familiar you become with them. And it gives you number sense, like it helps the very early learners, very early years learners get the number sense, and then you can keep using them to get other concepts because you're very familiar with the tool. So, well, the other thing is, you've got 8 ones, 8 times 1, or 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. And then you soon realize if you add all those ones together 8 times, it's the same thing as saying 8 times 1. And it will naturally happen that you'll progress onto 8 times 1. How many ones have you got? You've got 8 of them. Right, so that's a total of 8 rather than 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. And then what you can do what other ways? How many different ways can you make 8? Well, we've got that, and we've got that. Okay, what else can we do to make 8? Let's see. Well, we've got that one. What was that? That was 3 and 6. Oh, well, another one's too long. So 3 and 3 doesn't make 8, but 3, 3 and 2, they make 8. And you can find all the different ways you can add 2 numbers or more. You can start with, you could just start with 2 numbers. So the challenge could be, how many different ways can you add 2 numbers to make 8? So we can take those away. How many different ways can you add 2 numbers? Well, that's not 2 numbers. We've experimented with that. That doesn't work. What other ways? We've got 3 and 5, but wait, we've already got 5 and 3. So what's the difference between 3 plus 5 and 5 plus 3? They come up to the same thing. So we don't need that because we already know that 3 plus 5 is 8, and we've worked out that it doesn't matter what order they're in, they still at the same value of 8. So we can just literally just be playing to find this out. What have we got? 2. 1. Let's go with 1. 1. What do we have to add to 1 to make 8? Well, we've got this one. Those 2 are the same length, so we have to just work out how long that one is. And then we've got 2. We haven't got the 2 yet. Oh, look, wait, we're making a pattern. 2, and then which other one do we use to make? Oh, look, it's the next one in the block. Oh, look, I think I'm detecting a pattern going on here. The next one is 3. Wait, we've already got that, but we're using this pattern. So we're actually going to now, I'm loving seeing this pattern. So now we're going to, here we go. And now we had that before. We didn't have it, we did have it. Oh, that's there. So I'm progressing with this pattern because I'm enjoying this pattern. And that's what you'll find will happen. So, ooh, I've got a pattern going here. And now the next one is 5. But wait a minute, we've already got 5. And then which one's going to do it? 5 and 3. We've already got that. So we don't need to do that one again. And you can test, you can put them all in and then realize that it's actually the same thing. The same numbers added together. So we don't need it twice. So have we found all the different ways we can add 2 numbers to make up 8? Well, that's what you have to be satisfied about, and this is how you can make those discoveries and actually prove it by making a model. So what has this got to do with mindset? It's all about keeping the mind open. It's about asking questions, and it's about learning through curiosity. Now, if throughout the whole of your life, you're always open to learning and curious about learning, then the words I can't and stopping are not going to happen, because and why is math so important in that? To me, in my model of the world, maths is a really good tool. It's a really good environment to learn a growth mindset. Now, having said that, I really loved maths and I really didn't like art. I really didn't like, I loved reading, but I hated writing about reading. So in that respect, I had a closed mindset. I had an open mindset, a growth mindset about maths, but I had a closed mindset about art and literature, writing the reports. I loved reading it, but I didn't want to write the reports. Weirdly, I loved chemistry and Latin. Explain that to me. But I did. I just enjoyed it. But I didn't have curiosity about art, and I didn't have curiosity. I didn't have, well, some people just love to paint all day long, and I wasn't one of them. On the other hand, I'm sure there was some aspect of it that I would have found interesting and engaging if I'd explored it. So the point is, maths is an absolutely, it's riddled with ways of opening your mind to explore. And the really good way to start with that is by having manipulatives, by playing. I've got all these things around me. I've used balloons, of course, being me. I've got my paper sticks. I've got these shapes around the back of me. I've got the paper sticks. I've got loads of string. I've got scissors. I've got my whiteboard that we play games on with my lovely markers. I love my whiteboard and my markers. I'm just surrounded by, I've got all these shapes that I made. That one's come down from behind me. Isn't that beautiful? There are ways of engaging everyone, really. Everyone can be engaged in some way, shape or form in maths and every subject. So how do we do maths? How do we help with learning? How does learning in school help us have a growth mindset? How can we help our learners that are in school or school age have a growth mindset? And one thing that's absolutely critical is that they, and this is something that Carol Dweck worked out as well, is one of the huge things is to not praise on talent. And this just was so counterintuitive for me. Like, I am a grandmother and I've always had that grandma instinct of praising children. Oh my goodness, you're so clever, you're so talented, you're so handsome, you're so beautiful, you're so this, you're so that. And when I first heard the advice that was, don't praise on talent, don't praise on natural ability, I was like, no, that's wrong. That's just plain wrong. Why would you be squishing someone when it's so easy to build them up based on that? And the research shows that the research that Carol Dweck has done and other people, I've read a number of books on this, is, and just listen, there's something, and tested it out. Now, if you, and I have, the results I have just purely by observing the person listening, or what, I'm talking to, is if you say someone's beautiful, they might reject it. If you say that they're really clever, they might reject it. They literally might go, yeah, I know, but not really. Or you're building them up on something that discourages them from putting in effort. And one of the many results of Carol's direct research is that for people that believe that what they do is based on talent, their self-esteem is based on the results. So if they feel that they're not talented enough in any area, then they don't believe they're going to have any results. But also, they'll sit on their laurels. So one example in one of the books I read was of I think it's a badminton player who was it was a sports person who was brought up in a poor neighborhood, and he was the best in the neighborhood. He was the best in school. He was the best, and he ended up, this was Team GB. This was he was on he ended up on the Olympics team. It might not have been badminton, but he ended up on the Olympics team, and he was brought in. This could happen in football as well, in soccer and football as well. He was brought in as, this guy's the best. He's so talented. He's going to really make a difference to us. He's going to win all the medals, and we're going to win all, because of him, we're going to win all the medals. So he arrived on the team. Everyone else on the team, of course, had been used to training hard and improving constantly. And this lovely young person arrived on the team and thought, well, I'm the best. I'm sure it wasn't on purpose, but because the result was the whole, you're the best and you're our savior, and it was that he didn't really need to do anything. He didn't need to push himself. Of course, he would have trained. You have to train, but he wasn't pushing himself. And the end result was that he didn't get the medals. He reached a plateau, and other people went ahead of him because they were still pushing themselves. So praising on talent is very much a double-edged sword. It might make the person feel better, but you're actually not doing them any favors. So the advice is to praise on effort. Now, one amazing example as well, one amazing story was a young lady who was upset because she hadn't won a medal on that occasion. And what she wanted from her dad was, oh, poor you should have got the medal, you deserved it. And instead, the father said, no, you didn't deserve it. You didn't deserve it because you weren't the best. So the only way you're going to actually, if you go back the next time to get the medal, is you've got to put more effort into it. You've got to put more work into it so that you are the best next time. Because clearly you weren't the best one, therefore you didn't win the medals. For whatever reason, whether it was lack of concentration, maybe she had the most potential, but it didn't actually come out on the day. So it's really, really important to make sure that effort, that you're always aiming at gold, I guess. We're always aiming to achieve the best we can. And this growth mindset is how to go about it. So I've only written 2 things today. I've got the word yet and the word ask questions. Well, I suppose I'm going to add praise on effort. And I'm going to add perseverance and determination. Perseverance and determination. Now, those are words that I use all the time, perseverance and determination. And that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for perseverance and determination. What have you got? We've got perseverance and determination. And once you get a child or anybody to engage with that, then you only have to, because we all get discouraged. I certainly do. I'm the last one to say, I would never say I don't get discouraged, because I do. But what helps me more to get out of the doldrums, to think, oh, I've actually got loads of talent, and my mission is important, which it is. And I have loads of talent, really I do, honest I do, I've got loads of talent. Well, you know what? I don't believe myself if I say that, especially when I'm feeling down. I'm like, oh, if I had loads of talent, everything would be easy. And it's actually not true. And that's actually a good point. Everything isn't easy. And just it might be made to look easy, like look at the Olympics swimmers, look at the Olympic sports people, look at ice skaters, look at sports people bouncing the ball, the footballers bouncing the ball, and people keeping the ball in the air. And oh my goodness, it looks so easy, doesn't it? But it's taken thousands of hours of playing with a ball to get to that point where it looks easy. And when you're at elite level, you have to keep up the training. You can't just let it go. You can't maintain it if you won't. You can be very good for the whole of your life, but you're not going to maintain that elite level unless you keep up the practice. So the key to that is perseverance and determination. And even when you don't feel like doing it, you do it anyway. Oh, in the sense of, I'm going to add commitment. In my view, if you are committed to something and you do it, so you get commitment. If you commit to something and you succeed in doing it, even if you don't feel like it, that is success. And the thing is that if you commit to something and you persevere with it, you will get better and better and better, and you will feel good about yourself because it'll build your confidence. That's the word I was looking for. Now I'm a member of a group of wonderful women. We get together usually 5 days a week, just for a few minutes every day, just it's led by the most wonderful woman called Carmen Habibi, and she talks about confidence a lot and commitment a lot, and that's I find that really helpful because you're reminded constantly, and that's another thing, to remind yourself. And when you feel, oh, I don't feel like it, oh, I'm just going to give it a miss today, that's exactly the time to just do it. And then when you've done it, you feel so good. It's like a no-brainer afterwards. If you remind yourself beforehand that if you do it, you'll feel good, then hey, what greater way to feel good? Not to have some other person tell you you did great, but to tell yourself you did great. And that's the other thing. If you praise on effort, so I have written that. You must feel really good. You must feel proud of yourself rather than I am proud of you. Like I can say I'm proud of you, but then that person is working to please somebody else instead of themselves. Now, if you're competing with yourself and only yourself, then you can have your personal best. You can have your self-esteem. Oh my goodness, self-esteem is such a big thing. I suppose it's always been a big thing, but it's talked about a lot these days. If you're proud of yourself, then you will have self-esteem. I love the Spanish word autoestima. It's like auto. Auto means own, but it's like when you literal translation to English, it's like auto-esteem, like automatic esteem. So you have an automatic self-esteem. That's where my mind goes with it. But it's automatic self-esteem if you commit to something, you follow it through, and then you know that you've really done your best, and you can feel good about yourself, and you can praise yourself, and you can be proud of yourself. So these are all tools that are valuable with in maths, and they're valuable for your mindset, for your growth mindset, and they're valuable. And so we're going to review them now. We've got a couple minutes left. So the word yet. I can't do it yet. Always add the yet until the person you're talking to uses the yet themselves. And it happens very quickly. It's something that it just makes sense, and it happens really quickly. So it's, I can't do it yet, I don't know it yet, I don't know how to do it yet, I don't feel like it yet, I haven't done it yet. Just add that yet in. Thank you, Carol Dweck. It's brilliant. Ask questions. With the Happy Maths summer camp, and with all the activities that we do thanks to the Aiming High website, which we collaborate with, we help them get onto YouTube and things. So we use their activities, which are absolutely magnificent. There are on that key questions. Every single activity that you will find on the Aiming High website has key questions. And these are great examples of open questions that you can ask. These are all, a lot of them are specifically towards learning mathematics, but they can be tailored for anything. And the idea is to get the learner or the adult, whoever you're talking to think for themselves, to answer their own questions, kind of like a psychologist. So how do you feel about that? It's turning the question round back to the learner and getting them, whatever age the learner is. Because I'm a learner. And I really like that expression, learner, rather than pupil or student. I like using the word learner. The first time I heard it, I've not heard this before. I mean, what exactly is a learner? Well, duh, a learner is someone that learns. So I'm a learner, and we're all learners, ideally, unless we are so fixed in our mindset that we are not learning anything. But really, if you're not learning anything, you're not progressing. You're surviving, I suppose. I don't know, but to me, being a learner is really empowering. Thinking of myself as a learner, I find empowering, and I certainly like I call the young people that I work with learners, and any parents that come on the courses that we do, or grandparents, or uncles, or aunts, or carers. We're all learners. We're all learning how to do this. And then praise on effort. So you must be very proud of yourself. You put a lot of effort into that. You worked really hard, so you got the results. You did you really did well because you worked hard on it. And it's about getting them to encourage them to praise themselves and be proud of themselves for the effort they put in, rather than the results. Because you can put a huge amount of effort in and not actually get very good results, but you've still done the work, and you could feel like you've failed because you failed. I mean, you might fail an exam, but if you really put the effort into it, how much less painful is it if you're praising yourself on the effort rather than on the results? Or if you did really, really, really well in the exam and didn't put any effort into it at all, that also happens. Then you're sailing through, and this is another example of this is a very real situation. Someone might get to a top-notch university and they've sailed through the whole of school, they're the best one in school throughout, then they get to Cambridge or Harvard or any great university around the world, and they get there and all of a sudden they are not the best. And even if they are still the best within that university, the requirements once you're at that elite level are much harder. And if you expect to sail through it, and this really happens, is that people get discouraged and leave because they are expecting to be able to sail through it, and they think that because they can't sail through it, that means that they are not as clever as the other people. What they don't realize is that the other people are putting a lot of effort into getting the results, and they've not ever had to put the effort into it. So they feel as though they're failing. And that is, so how important is it for the person that is naturally has just sailed through everything? How important is it for them to be praised on effort and not on results? That's even more important really than the one who struggles, who doesn't expect very much out of what they get, because they'll have something that they can do. There's always something. And no matter how, what level of special needs they might have, there's always something, and the very common thing is the ability to put sunshine in people's hearts, and how important is that? So commitment leading to success, and actually following through on commitment, and that leading to success and self-confidence, and which leads to self-esteem. And all of these are powerful in your growth mindset. I hope you found this useful. I'll see you next week, 4 o'clock London time, for Mindset Monday. It's Caroline Ainslie signing out. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next week.